Hello and welcome. This is Janet Adams for Bald Eagles Naturally, and this is the story of the National Arboretum's bald eagle nest. For many of us, the National Arboretum's bald eagle's nest was our first introduction into viewing live bald eagle cams. The National Arboretum is located in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and the nest is affectionately called the D.C. nest. Although there were other eagle cams around the country, this nest received national attention because of its location and because of the American Eagle Foundation's interest in putting up webcams at this nest. But before the webcams were installed, Mr. President and the First Lady were busy preparing their first nest, and soon DC-1 hatched. In 2015, employees of the National Arboretum saw the eagles carrying sticks to the nest tree. This picture of the 2015 nest shows the depth of the nest. It's hard to believe that Mr. President and the First Lady brought all of those sticks in a few months' time. You can almost see the V of the tree from below. In the spring of 2016, shortly after Freedom and Liberty hatched, this is what the nest looked like. Some notable things to see here are the branches and the height of the nest in relation to the V of the tree. As Freedom and Liberty grew older and started hopping up and down on the nest, testing out their wings, the nest began to noticeably change. Gone were the stick rails, and the back of the nest began to fall away. During the summer of 2016, it was determined by Fish and Wildlife, the National Arboretum, and the American Eagle Foundation that the nest would possibly be lost if supports were not added. So workers began making preparations to restore the nest. On November 6, 2016, I visited the National Arboretum to check out the nest and surrounding area. It was a wonderful experience, and you can see from these photographs some of the supports that were added. On New Year's Eve 2016, the DC Nest Cam went live, and we all got our first look at the new and improved nest. New and sturdy supports were added to the backside of the nest, as well as a couple of supports up around the V. It also looked like there were some braces that were laid underneath the nest, and by the time the cams were live, the eagles had really spruced things up around the nest. Another change was the removal of the branch noted in this picture. I'm not sure the reason why this was removed, but it might have been used for the supports. I don't know that for sure, however. The final change that I noticed was the height of the nest. In 2016, the nest materials covered up the entire V shape of the right and left V branches. In this first pic, I marked where the nest material almost reached, and in the 2017 pic, the nest materials are much lower and you can actually see the start of the V branches. As the 2017 season progressed, the nest remained intact while Honor and Glory grew up and fledged. At the beginning of the 2018 season, the nest remained in good working order. When the cams went live on New Year's Eve 2017, it was wonderful to see the First Lady and Mr. President already working on the nest. As the year was moving forward, we all watched wondering if the First Lady would lay eggs, which she finally did on March 25, 2018. The eaglets did their part in rearranging the stick rails and moved their toys around in an orderly mess. By August, grass began to grow on the nest, and a visiting eagle looked things over for us. 2019 was not what any of us imagined or hoped for. As the season started, Mr. President and the First Lady worked on building up the nest rails and adding lots of grasses to the nest. But unfortunately, the First Lady did not lay any eggs, and slowly the season slipped away with very few changes to the nest. Then 2020 happened. This first pic was one of the last ones from 2019. And then the same view early in 2020 is in the next picture. At first I thought new supports were added, but in retrospect, I think the more likely event was another partial collapse of the nest. But you can see the distinct differences. The reason these bigger sticks couldn't be seen was because they were covered with multiple smaller sticks. The nest tree changed in 2022. The overhead branch, that was one of the First Lady's favorite spots, got picked apart piece by piece until the American Eagle Foundation had to remove it altogether. By the end of 2020, the nest looked really good, but we still didn't have any eggs. Every year brings about new hope and new adventures, but no one expected that by mid-February of 2021, Mr. President would have a new mate, V5. So although the nest itself was ready, the change with a new female partner again meant no eggs for 2021. On August 20th, a large portion of the Cam A side of the nest slid off. It looked like Nutter Butter caused it, but it is likely that rain, wind, and the squirrel's home under the nest were all factors in losing a chunk of the nest. A month after the nest lost about half of the nest materials, it looked rather bleak, but Mr. President and V5 have been working tirelessly on making repairs. Now we are only a few weeks away from year's end, and Mr. President and V5 have worked a lot in the last several days to fix up the nest after the collapse, and it is noticeably improved. The 2022 nesting season will soon be here, and let's hope for better things in the year to come. In closing, I leave you with an iconic picture of the First Lady and Mr. President, and a new picture of V5 and Mr. President. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch and comment and like these videos. It really means a lot to me. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.